welcome. As a matter of public service and governmental transparency, this meeting may be recorded, streamlined live, and/or accessed at a later time. Note that this may include video and audio of all people present. That's why we asked you to come to the podium so we can get a good look at you. Item number 2 is citizens' comments. This is an opportunity for citizens to address this commission with comments or questions about the commission, but not related to what we're talking about today at our public hearing. And citizens are asked to limit their time to 3 minutes each. Anyone fit that bill today? All right, moving on. Item number 3. We're gonna try to approve the minutes that we had at the last meeting. Did everyone get a chance to read through that? Any corrections? I would certainly look for a motion to approve those to get things going today.
I'll make that motion, Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
I'll second it.
Thanks. It's been moved and seconded that we approve the minutes as written. Thanks, Don. They look really good.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
I would
ma'am.
like to abstain from voting on any business that happened at the last meeting.
Check.
Mr. Chairman, I will also be abstaining from business that happened at the last meeting as I wasn't present.
You're welcome. You don't have to, but All right, number 4, approval of the reason statement and the relative criteria that we did discuss at the last meeting.
I think we need to vote on it.
Yeah.
Oh, we haven't voted on that yet?
We got motions, but no.
Got a motion and a second.
Second.
All those in favor, say aye on the minutes.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? All right, that carries. Item number 4. We went through the criteria and the standards for a zone change. The last meeting, that was zone change number 23-0001 by the Greco Land Development Company. We've got that in front of us after deliberating. It's here. Is there anything?
I have something to raise. I don't know if Katie's gonna raise it or not, but with the Greco annexation, the zone change, there's been additional information that needs to be introduced into the record. So it's been the attorney's office recommendation for the Planning and Zoning Committee and Community Development to have a second public hearing on the matter so that we can introduce that additional information on the record at that hearing, which I believe Katie is in the process of getting noticed up so that we can redo that. And so until that time, it's our recommendation to just kind of table the reason statement until after that additional public hearing.
Okay. And the reason statement that we did make, it still is in play even with the new evidence?
It
that
is
comes?
still in play, and
We may
it'll
have
be
to
your
change.
determination after that meeting whether or not there's any additional amendments or recommendations you'd like to make. But we will propose another reason statement with additional information as far as the applicants.
We need a formal motion to that happen, or do we just table?
I think they do just a table.
Just table the whole thing?
Yes, because it's on here as a action item to approve it. I think making a motion to table the reason statement until after the second public hearing would be appropriate.
Sure.
Sounds great. Commissioner?
I will make that motion to table the reason statement until after the second
All right.
public hearing.
I'll second that.
Thanks. It's been moved and seconded that we table this whole affair till next time, or till a time when you get it on the agenda. Next meeting, you think?
It will be next meeting, it'll probably be the second meeting in March.
So March 22nd.
I believe that's what it'll end up being.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. It will be tabled until a couple of weeks. Item 5 on our agenda, this is a public hearing, and we will deliberate afterwards. It's kind of 2 public hearings rolled into one. We've got the comprehensive amendment, and then we also have a zone change to go along with it. How the process works, we open up the meeting. Katie with the planning's office gives us the lowdown, and then we will ask for testimony from the applicant if they're here today. And any testimony from the public, if there happens to be any. And at that time, we'll have a rebuttal from the applicant, we'll close the hearing, and then we'll deliberate on the standards that we have before us. So, without any more ado, let's open the public hearing. Katie is ready to go.
Good evening, Commissioners. So this one is called CPA, which is Comprehensive Map Amendment, which is number 2, and then Zone Change 2350 is number 2. So this is a proposal to rezone a portion of land from the R1 suburban residential zone to the R3 medium residential zone. The application is by DK Holdings LLC. So we'll start with photos like normal. So to get yourself oriented, top of the screen is north. You can see 18th Street running parallel to the property. This is our subject property. Where is my mouse? There it is. Right here, this big open field. Unimproved Bryden Avenue is right here on the north side. Airway Avenue is down here on the south side. The Canyon Crest Planned Unit Development is up here to the north. And then there is both single-family residential homes, pasture area, large undeveloped parcels that have just a single house on them. And you can't see it in this photo, but just a little further east is a parcel that was recently subdivided that this body did review and approve. So then again, with our zoning layer turned on, so that light blue color is that R1 suburban residential zone. To the north, again, that yellowish color is that planned unit development. You can see there's a weird little pocket of F2 hanging out at the bottom, which is the leftover from when we did the up zone. So that person probably just voted to not be part of that. Excuse me. And then looking at the property itself, so I'm standing at the southwest corner of the subject property. I'm looking northeast, so kind of diagonal across the property. I'm at the corner of Airway Ave and 18th Street, like I showed you on the map, so you can see, Lewiston Hills over here, and then these houses are all part of Canyon Crest subdivision. Turning east, so I'm now same location, southwest corner of subject property, looking eastward on Airway Avenue. So again, you can see single-family dwellings over here on my southern side. Way off in the distance, like where this big tree is where the single-family dwelling is on the neighboring property. And then turned around, looking west. So this is Airway Avenue. It drops off and it's unimproved after a certain point, so these folks are kind of using it as their driveway. But it is still technically a city street. And then turned north, looking down 18th. Again, Lewiston Hill is in the background, and then you can see kind of on the skyline here, all those houses that are all part of the Canyon Crest subdivision. And then this parcel that is on the west side of the road is just undeveloped property, similar to our subject property. Then from the other end, so now I'm at the northwest corner. So this is looking east at unimproved Bryden, which is this kind of rocked and treed area. So that is actually city right-of-way, and has trees and some landscaping stuff going on in it. And then you can see the open field is over here. And then on the other corner, so now I'm on the southeast corner, so I'm bordering, like I showed you that big tree in the previous photo, so the single-family dwelling to the east is right over here. You can see their vehicles right here. And then this is the subject property. Again, it's been farmland. And again, to the north, Canyon Crest hanging out. And then this is, again, on that southeast corner, looking west down Airway. So you can see single-family dwellings over here. This one with the fence is actually about a 4.8 acre property. That's like horse pasture, and then their house is on Burl. So it goes all the way through. And then down here is where that intersection is again. And then this is that single-family dwelling, the neighboring property. That's at 1823 Airway Avenue. So it's right next door. And then in your packet was included, and this is not necessarily normal for a rezone, but this applicant did choose to kind of show you what the plan is. So this is a page from the draft subdivision plat. So again, north is up. You can see Clearview Point's up here. These parcels right here are those existing Canyon Crest parcels. You can see unimproved Bryden is labeled right here. 18th Street's over here, Airway Ave's here, and you can see all the proposed lots interior. And then also included in your packet was a visual of what the proposed homes would look like. They would be duplexes, so they would have that shared common wall in the middle, garages on the outside, and this is buildings that the applicant has built over in Clarkston. So this is what those look like. And then back up a little bit so we can look our big map picture. This one. So let's cover comments from other departments or agencies first. So included in your packet is comments from our fire department and the engineering division of public works. So fire said access and water supply needs to comply with IFC, which is a pretty standard comment for anything. Engineering said no objections to the zone change and the comprehensive map update. The developer will follow the traffic impact analysis guidelines to mitigate traffic effects created by the proposed development. And traffic calming along 18th Street has been identified as being an important frontage improvement. So that would be, things along, where is my cursor? I'm moving it too fast, there we go. That would be things going along here because there is the proposal for 2 roads that would enter and exit along 18th. And then Barney Metz, the manager up at Lloyd, sent me comments earlier this week saying that the parcel is in the process of being annexed into Lloyd for domestic-only water service, and that they will hold their own, well, not Lloyd, COSD, which would be the sewer purveyor. No, it would be a Lloyd one at the COSD. Is it at the COSD offices? Okay, so it is. It doesn't make sense the way he wrote it, I'm sorry. There will be a public hearing on March 15th, 2023 at the COSD offices, and he will be constructing his water infrastructure to Lloyd standards. The annexation process must be completed and paid for, and then Lloyd would service the development. So, moving forward, big question on everybody's mind, I know, is suburban residential to a medium density residential. So I covered this I really concentrated on this in my staff report because I felt like the commission would probably have lots of questions about this and the public too. So medium density residential, the R3 zone, has a minimum lot size of 6,000 square feet. It also allows for what is called small lot development, which this body last summer saw us do a bunch of amendments to that, including design standards and items like that. So as part of that, the medium density designation in our comprehensive plan allows for 8 to 17 dwelling units per acre. And that's a gross land use, right? That's the highest density. That's if you could use every square inch just for dwelling units. So that does not take into account things like streets, things like sidewalks, things like stormwater. And there's other things that actually happen in a development. So based on the number of units that are proposed for the number of acreage, it only ends up being, I think it's 6.25 units per acre. Yeah, I was like, where did it go? There it is. Okay. So it ends up being a density of 6.25, which actually falls into low density, which is what the current designation is. But you do have to do that map amendment and the rezone to be able to utilize that small lot development to get him the number of units that he's proposing to put in the area. And we'll let the applicant speak to that a little bit more on how that all works out for him. But I did want to point that out that a lot of times people hear medium density, and that's scary because you think really tight, really small, really a lot. But in this particular case, given that there's infrastructure to be put in, roads to be put in, sidewalks to be put in, that kind of stuff. It only ends up being a 6.25 dwelling units per acre, which still does fall into that low density designation, which is 5 to 8. So I wanted to point that out. The other thing to, I guess, also keep in mind, so to the north, we have our planned unit development, Canyon Crest. That development went through an amendment process about 2 years ago. And part of that amendment process did allow for them to build out the remaining units. Half of them can be in that same small lot development standard, which has a 4,000 square foot lot. So they have much more space, obviously. A lot of it's not usable because of the topography as they get farther north. So their density level ends up being, much lower just because of the total space, again, because you're using that as a full calculation. But just, I would tell the commission to consider that this is not necessarily any higher of a density than what has been proposed to the north of it. So, the medium density is designed to be a buffer between higher densities and lower densities. I think that the proposed development, if developed in the fashion that is been presented, will be that kind of medium buffer area where it's not super high. It's not technically designated as low, but it still does actually meet that standard of low because it is only 6.25 dwelling units per acre. The proposal is for 56 dwelling units, and like I said and showed in the picture earlier, they are proposed to be duplexes with the 0 lot line for that medium wall. So that would be 28 duplexes or 56 dwelling units. The proposal also includes, like I said, some streets, stormwater, sidewalks, and under that, the small lot development standards, that's where you see a lot of those design elements, very similar to what we see in our planned unit developments, where they are required to utilize certain things like front porches, there's a window ratio that has to be maintained, there's a garage to building ratio that has to be maintained, street trees are required in front of each of the homes, things to make it have that nice neighborhood feel, color change, texture change, different elements that you wouldn't necessarily see in straight zoning, where it can be kind of more haphazard. The small lot development design standards are kind of designed to, make up for that smaller lot size and that more compact feel, to give it a nice neighborhood kind of feel. So going with that idea, like I said, a lot of those same kinds of design standards are found in many of our planned unit developments. That was part of the reason why we amended our small lot development standards, because lots of our developers were using the PUD process rather than small lot development process to achieve similar types of housing. Oh, and then finally, and this is also included in your staff report, the nice thing about straight zoning, which this would be, because it would not be a planned unit development, right? It would be just standard R3, is that there are not any concessions made for the street standards. So in a planned unit development, often you see developers kind of, it's a contract and we're kind of weighing different aspects against each other. And sometimes some of those aspects that get weighed are street standards that aren't the regular city standard. They're either skinnier, have sidewalk just on one side, and there's different caveats that the Public Works Department usually works through with a developer regarding those sorts of things when we're doing that whole process. So in this instance, if this rezone is approved and moves forward to council and is approved by them, regular city standards for their streets, for their sidewalks, for their stormwater, all of those things will just meet standard city standards rather than being that kind of give and take that you see in the contract area. And with that, I would stand for questions.
Yes, so the center space is the proposed development and rezone request.
Yes.
But when you did the overlay, everything from the undeveloped, yes, is R1 currently. And what I'm confused about, are we proposing R3 for all of the blue outlined or
Nope.
just the developed
Just-
lot?
Just this.
Yes.
Just-
And it doesn't affect the existing homes, it doesn't, okay.
Nope, so it would not affect this neighbor, it would not affect the neighbor that's over here, it does not affect the neighbors down here.
The other direction.
Yep, it doesn't affect this parcel over here, this is the subject property that is in the proposal. Just this outline.
Thank you.
You are welcome.
Okay, I'm showing my ignorance here on this, so if is this a technical change then for why it's being requested from an R1 to R3? If it's technically going to basically match the communities around it?
No, so it's requesting that so that they can utilize the designs, or not the design standards, the lot width and dimension standards
Okay,
that are
gotcha,
allowed in the
okay.
R3. Because in the R1 that it currently is, standard is 10,000 square feet, 70 feet wide, 100 feet deep, for a single family dwelling. So the standards in the R3, 6,000 minimum. And then R3 also allows for that small lot development, which the R1 does not.
Okay, perfect, thank you.
So the proposal to R3 would allow the developer to do the kind of development that he would like to. Like I said, the medium density does have that higher density level. But when you look at the actual proposal, that density level isn't as high as if something else were to be proposed.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question.
Mhm.
Now, the minimum square feet for the lot size is 6,000, is that
In
correct?
for a standard R3, but R3 also allows for small lot development, which has a minimum lot size of 4,000.
Okay, so all these lots conform then to
Yes,
this?
yes, the developer would be looking to do the small lot development, and the proposed lots that were included in your packet would meet those standards.
Playing off of Kathy's question, so we're talking duplexes,
Yes.
which, whether it's rented or purchased, and I'm assuming people purchase duplexes. Townhomes.
That's not a word in the.
Okay.
That's why they call them duplexes.
Okay, but so the lot is gonna be, it allows for 6,000, but actually 2 units joined will be living on the 6,000.
No, if you look at what was included in your packet,
I didn't, yeah, mine came email, so it was a little small.
the proposed lots, most of them are around the 5,000 mark, and that's for each unit. And then the line, the parcel line would be in the middle of the building.
Okay.
Oh,
So each one would have approximately,
That's 53.
yeah, a lot of, so they're like 53, 56.
Yeah,
So they'd be around 5,000-ish for each side.
Okay, that's,
Okay.
thank you. I need clarification.
Yes, it is a little confusing, like looking at it, and I had to double check myself about 4 times to make sure that I was
So
following.
Katie, the R3, it does match the existing subdivisions surrounding the area.
It's very similar to the
Very
existing
similar.
subdivisions around there, yeah. So the Canyon Crest, when that subdivision was originally created, and the subdivision agreement was made, they had a minimum lot size of 6,000. When they did the amendments, they bumped that up to 7,500, which is the same as like an R2 or an R2A. But that was the trade for being able to do up to 50% at the small lot development, which is that 4,000 square foot lot size. So again, that whole, the trade-off, back and forth, and that's how all of the PUDs work for the most part.
Anybody else have questions for Katie? Once again, great job, Katie. Thank you.
I try to anticipate what you guys need.
You did good.
Actually, I have one question,
Oh.
and this might be from left field. As far as the utilization rate, is this close to 75% land?
I don't know, because I didn't calc it out, like taking all the street square footages out, because that's a lot of math, and I'm not really good at that. So I did not do that. This is probably, I mean, you're putting 56 units in, without going, up. This is probably for single level family homes. I would say it's probably as good as you're gonna get.
Curious.
Yes, I considered doing that math, but it hurt my brain, so.
And you're like, yeah, nobody's gonna ask that question.
Well, and it's just, it's complicated, especially with the curves.
Oh, yeah.
Trying to figure out all those radiuses, and how much of that land actually gets eaten up with,
Wow.
the sidewalk, so.
Sorry.
I'm not an engineer. No.
Thanks, Katie. We'll have the applicant, if he cares to come up and give a rebuttal or a demonstration or anything
You need AMI pictures or?
associated with this, just please come on up, state your name and address.
You do want that up there? Okay.
I thank Katie also. I've worked with Katie for a long time, and she makes me look good, so that's very helpful.
Gotta give your name and your.
Oh, sorry. I'm Dan Young, 247 Thane is in Lewiston. So I guess I don't really know where to start. I thought Katie did an excellent job explaining what we were trying to do. I think the important number is that 6 or 6 1/4. We got, my math was 9 acres and we're 54 lots, so 9 times 6 is about 54. So about 6 per acre is what we were looking at, which almost, it almost falls in that where it is right now, but that 70 and 100 foot thing was the thing that was limiting what we were trying to do. So, I don't want to go stack a bunch of stuff in there, and I understand duplex is not a term that applies to zoning. We're building them as townhomes, so when you look at it, it looks like a duplex, but it'll have a 0 lot line, and they'll be individually deeded property, so each individual owner will own one side of the townhome unit.
Oh, gotcha, okay,
very
that was,
nice.
okay.
Yeah.
So similar to what's up behind North 40 and what is it, Magnolia
Yeah.
and,
Correct.
okay,
Very similar to that, because those are all individually deeded.
Yes.
Yeah.
okay, that helps, thank you.
And then we were gonna try to go the PUD route, and, having worked with Joel and Katie for several projects, just the PUD is such a struggle. I mean, from where you guys sit and the give and take and the negotiation, and we just went ahead and put 53-foot right-of-ways in, which is kind of the driver on most subdivisions. If we got 53 feet, then we can fall into the city standards for a subdivision, and that just kind of made everybody's life easier. So that's why we chose to go with the R3. Most of the lots are going to be right around that 6,000 square foot is what we're looking at. And I don't even know how to do that utilization thing either, but I'm sure if you guys wanted that number, the engineer could go click, click, click and find us that number out, because
Dustin?
Jack can figure it out.
so with that, I guess I would open it up to questions if you have questions of me.
Yes.
No questions?
I do, I have a question. It's just on this page 22 right here, and there's a couple little red dotted lines on lots, on these lots 1 and 3. And I was just curious what that was, what those, say, that those are the only lots that have those little red lines. Is it an easement or?
Oh, yeah. So there's no sewer and airway. So we're trying to pick up the sewer service on our new street.
Okay.
It's not a great spot to run the sewer line, so we just ran those easements right along the property line, and that's a fairly common thing. I mean, sewer lines run across different easements. So the engineer came up with that, rather than trying to fight and get up airway with the sewer line. He just said, we'll just go ahead and stub the sewer services back. There is water in airway, so we can grab the water, but the sewer lines we're planning to run the other direction into the new street. This probably doesn't come up in zoning either, but Airway Avenue is a 20-foot right-of-way street, which there's a lot of city streets that are 20 feet wide, and it's very difficult to drive two vehicles, and they've got 10 feet of asphalt in the middle. So we're actually going to surrender 17 feet of Airway Avenue, and then go ahead and put in the sidewalk, curb, and gutter for our half width of the street. So it seemed to make sense to us, and so that's, I don't know if that shows up or it's part of the zoning deal or whatever, but that's on the plat that you guys at some point will be reviewing again.
Thank you. Any other questions? You are dismissed. Thank you, Dan. At this time, if there's any testimony from the public, anyone like to step forward and anybody in the audience? No? Anything from the emails?
I do have one.
Great.
Joe Hewlett sent me an email and it says, "My wife Pat and I live at 1807 Clearview Point Drive, only a short distance north of the parcel Mr. Young has asked to be redesignated and rezoned. While we highly respect Mr. Young for the work he has done, he built our house among many others. We are concerned that the proposed changes would unfavorably affect the character of our neighborhood, but unduly increase the population density. We therefore oppose the request changes."
That address again, do you mind?
1807 Clearview Point.
Not the only one. Thank you. Applicant has got a shot at rebuttal. If you care to, give it a shot. You can chew on it for next time.
Can I see that map again, Kate? So, 1807, where's the cursor go?
Somewhere in there.
So this is an old guy thing, Katie, this is a tip for future meetings. Make that cursor about 3 times bigger and turn it black. Because I can't hardly see it. So 1807, Mr. Hewlett is,
Yeah.
Oh,
There, right
yeah,
there.
okay.
yeah. So, so those are rear loaded, and we built this house, it was probably a decade ago that we built it. And those are the ones with the alley in the back, or the front doors on the opposite side of Clearview. Of all the people that I thought were going to come to this meeting or send a letter, I would have never picked Mr. Hewlett. I actually call him Joe, because I'm friends with him. So I reviewed the letter, and I kind of caught me off guard. Most of our traffic is going to be going into the subdivision and back out before it even approaches him. I don't know, maybe people are going to be walking that neighborhood or their kids riding bikes through there, but there is no outlet to the north, so all the traffic that comes into ours is going to turn and go back out. So I respect him sharing his opinion, but I'm kind of surprised by his protest.
So what are the design specifications of his house, just so I have an idea or an encapsulation of what?
So his lot is 60 by 125, 60 feet wide, 125 deep.
Okay.
There's an alleyway in the back that's 30 feet wide.
Okay,
They do have the city standard street, which is Clearview on the front side.
okay.
And according to the PUD, I believe the square footage minimums were 1,400 square feet was the minimum.
That was
So,
from their homeowners association, not from us.
yeah, and that was part of the homeowners association, not necessarily because of the PUD, but those are the standards that he followed for his house.
Okay.
Did that answer your question?
That did. I just kind of wanted a visual of the difference between his house or kind of what he's seeing versus
Yeah,
what the design would be for the new development.
the square footage of his house, which is between 1,400 and 1,500 square feet, and what we're proposing is basically his house connected to another house with a common lot line. So
Okay.
it's very complementary to the size and the lot size of his current property.
So you can see, so this is those properties,
Yeah, okay,
and so
there's
they're all
1807.
60 feet wide. They have 5 and 10 foot setbacks. So, you know, honestly, if you eliminated 5 from each one, right, and then you squeezed them together, their width is only 8 feet wider than a majority of the proposed lots. And then they do have that rear access, like Mr. Young said. So most of them have their garages in the back, and they load in from the back.
And all the homes on that particular block are actually facing more of this same development.
Yeah.
Yes, they all face these
So-
larger
so-
lots that are across the street on Clearview Point Drive.
So, and the ones closest to the proposed development actually have garages in front, entries back onto Clearview. So their backyards face the newer proposed development.
Yeah.
Katie, can you pan out just a hair further? Oh, thank you. I'm just trying to look at the traffic flow.
Yeah, so everything comes out 18. Part of Canyon Crest's agreement is when they hit 300 houses, they'll have
Oh,
to
I see.
complete this access road.
So right now, the expectation is that they'd be coming out Airway
They'll come out 18th.
or come out 18.
Everybody comes out 18th
Yeah.
right now. And like was commented in the staff report by the engineering division of Public Works, there is a traffic mitigation that's already in place. And so Mr. Young will, of course, pay into that and follow recommendations that go along with that. But that, you know, is kind of specific to 18th coming out to Burl down there.
Okay. So they're actually going to come out and turn down?
Yeah, so the proposal here, like, they're not gonna go north to
No,
exit.
no.
They can only go south to exit.
So
And
traffic
they can't
won't
even go west on Airway because like I showed you, that's incomplete right-of-way, and that gentleman right there is using it as his driveway. So everybody will come down to Burl. Until, like I said, until
That develops out.
Yep, until that road gets punched all the way through. Right now, it's just a gravel access road.
But even then, it'll still just be access to residential. It won't be access to like a commercial.
And you can also see, you know, just speaking to the density like I mentioned, so here's Pioneer. Similar situation where these are in the 60s to 70, and they also, not these ones on this side, but up farther, they also have some rear entrance with the alley. But again, you know, 5 foot and 10 foot side setbacks, and you can see that they're packed in there pretty good. They've, you know, definitely tried to max out the amount of space they covered up with their house.
So Katie, in the proposed development, there will be no alley access per se. It's gonna be entry to all the units coming off of streets to the.
Yes, yeah, there's not alley accesses proposed. So they'll have standard city streets, and the street kind of like loops.
Yeah, and that's something we're gonna see.
Yes, exactly, and so that's the other thing to keep in mind. So this application is just for the rezone and comprehensive map amendment. Once, if the commission chooses to recommend approval to council and it passes through council, then the developer comes back and does the actual plat. And that plat, since it will have more than 10 lots, will come in front of this body for approval before, again, going to council for final approval.
Any other questions for Katie? I'm gonna go and close this public hearing then. Thanks, Katie. And what we'll do as a group is we'll deliberate on what we've heard with the notes that we've taken. So we make sure we have a good, strong reason to send this to the city council. So the question before us, we're first gonna deal with the comprehensive plan amendment. And there are no reason statement, or not reason statement, deliberation quotes. We just, amongst ourselves, will discuss that. I think it's a great plan. I think Katie has really done a great job, and the developers tried and true in this area. So I don't see any reason why we shouldn't pass this.
No, I agree, and I will say also that I know people kind of fear density because it can change the quality of a neighborhood, but I will say I think this design is very well tailored to stay within the quality of the neighborhood. You know, it's not putting 5,000 square foot lots in, you know, next to McMansions, so to speak. So I think it's a well thought out design, and I think does a very good job of integrating a higher density zone with a lower density, but maintaining the quality of the area.
Yeah,
So,
it'll work right
yeah,
into it.
yeah, I think it's a good plan, so.
Well, and I think too, by keeping it kind of within that low density ratio, you're improving the, you know, livability and the desirability. And so you've got folks who may not want, like you said, the McMansion, or may not be within the affordability, but they want to be kind of within that neighborhood area. So I think that this is going to be housing that is going to be, you know, desirable for people that are looking to purchase.
And I think obviously we haven't seen, you know, what the housing market will do, but I think affordability for these homes will be, everybody's gonna have a different price point, but I think they'll be reasonable compared to if they were on bigger lots and the homes were bigger. So that's another point to me, that's a point in favor, so.
Absolutely.
Well, I refer back to the area up east of North 40, that development. In my opinion, having been in a few of the homes, they've done that beautifully, and I think it's a highly desirable neighborhood. The pricing has stayed pretty consistent. And for what it serves, you know, people that are not necessarily all about their garden and 400-pound dogs. I think it's beautiful, so hopefully that falls within that.
Well, I would certainly entertain a motion to approve this. That's written.
Sure, I'll make that motion.
Thanks, Kate. It's been moved. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the CPA 23-00002 and recommend to the city council that we're okay with that. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed? Motion carries. All right, the next, now we're gonna deal with the zone change. And that's zone change number 23-0002, also a recommendation to the city council. But we do have some reason statements that we'd like to take a look at. So everyone has the sheet?
The criteria?
Yep, the criteria. Second page?
Yes.
Okay.
Katie anticipated us on that
She,
one.
I did, in fact, you
Actually-
did put it in your packet, so.
I do have it in my packet too, so.
And you know what, I kind of like it separate from my packet, so thank you, appreciate that.
We can make note of that and then you can write it separately.
make it easy on us, Katie. Okay, number one, the proposed use will or will not result in conditions that will tend to generate nuisances such as dust, glare, etc. I believe that of course it will at the beginning, but it will not result in any conditions that will generate any kind of nuisance. Are we
Are
okay
you
with
going
that?
off of the right?
I
Am I on the right one?
different
Conditional
I
use
have a different one.
Nope.
I was gonna be like, I keep looking for it, but I don't see it.
Looking for those words.
I've got the wrong one.
You're looking at a conditional use.
Oh, curses. Okay, scratch that. The proposed rezone, I believe it is in general conformance with the Lewiston Comprehensive Plan.
Yes,
Yes.
great.
Everyone's okay with
I
that?
agree.
Number two, the subject property is or is not at least well-suited or better suited for the proposed. And I think it is. I think it's gonna fit right in there with what we've got.
Agree.
All right. Number 3, the proposed rezone does or does not present foreseen immitigable impacts or uses being located in the same vicinity. I don't believe it does.
No, it doesn't. I think the
No.
design shows that
And
it
listen to the
doesn't.
letter, and I'm not sure what,
I'm not seeing a huge difference between in design.
right.
I mean, unless they're concerned specifically about what the home is gonna be designed like, but there's no indication that's the case. Or I'm sorry, duplex.
All right, brings us to issue number 4. The effects of the proposed rezone, I believe, are not anticipated to
Agreed.
place any undue burdens, evidenced by,
Yes,
we've already
she
heard
had it
from
in the staff report from the different.
Central Sewer District,
Yeah.
Lorraine,
Districts.
Fire.
There's no issues there.
All right, and number 5. The size, types, intensity, and density of development expected to occur on the subject property as a result of this rezoning. I believe it is suitable for the area and will not unduly burden the neighborhood, public infrastructure,
Agreed.
or the environmental resources.
Agreed.
Everyone's okay?
Yes.
It's not making a lot of change from what it was
No,
before.
exactly. It's actually using space more wisely,
Yeah.
in my opinion.
So anything else that we want to add to that? You okay?
I'm good.
All right. Well, I would certainly entertain a motion to direct the staff to draft a reason statement.
Also move that the staff does a reason statement for zoning change 23-000002 and recommend that to the city council.
Sure. It's been moved. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. And that brings us to item number 6 on our agenda. This is the staff and commission communications. So we have Katie let us know what's going on in the future. And also to find out if we're going to all be here next time.
So we do have a public hearing scheduled for the March 8th meeting. And then, like Jennifer mentioned, a subsequent public hearing for annexation on the 22nd meeting. We haven't received any other applications yet that might show up on that 22nd, but definitely the one public hearing on the March 8th. So we would like a show of hands of who will and won't be here.
I will be here.
We good?
Which one is the March 8th?
Conditional use,
Is that for that?
Daycare?
it's the daycare.
So just remember, if anyone approaches you to talk about the daycare stuff or anything like that, direct them to submit a public comment either in person by attending the meeting or in writing by submitting it.
So
Through the
has that
public
been a
process.
thing? Like, I guess I'm outside of that
It
network.
has been
I
a
haven't
thing.
heard
You
of
don't wanna
it.
be.
It has
Stay
been a
out of the
thing.
game.
Okay, well, I mean, I got your email, so I assumed it was, but I'm just like, I didn't know this was on the topic, so.
So,
Well, apparently.
Yeah.
I'm not sure I'll be here. I'm a maybe, but I would like to have it mailed to me.
response to my email.
You sent it out the Wednesday before, right? So a week before
A
the
week
public
before.
hearing, right, the week
Yeah.
before this meeting.
Okay.
And then lastly is, we do have our new commissioner,
Hey, welcome.
Anderson with
Welcome.
us, so welcome to her. And we do still have one open spot, so if you know anybody who would like to
Try 'em.
join our lovely group, please encourage them to contact the city clerk.
Welcome, Maureen.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Hope it's all what you hope it's gonna be.
Right?
You're already asking questions and stuff, that's great.
Oh, and then I guess the last reminder would be that legal is holding training Friday afternoon to go over open meeting law and all of the goodness that goes along with that, so.
Encourage
If you could-
everyone to attend.
If you can make it, definitely make it.
You are required to,
Oh, I plan
within
to.
the first 6 months, to do an open meetings training, and this would meet that requirement.
Yes. And if you would like to do it but are not able to attend, it usually gets put, like you guys recorded or something, and there's.
I
something to
don't
send out.
know if they're planning to record it.
It'd be very helpful.
You better.
I think it said at the bottom of Lorraine's email that it would be available as a recording. Maybe not that meeting, but something would be available.
Yeah, I'm not too sure about that aspect of
I
it.
think the first one I attended was like through the
You would not get the credit.
Attorney General's website, and it was
Right,
like an hour and a half,
yeah.
2 hours.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
that's
the one I-
Which is different than this one, obviously, but
But
There's
that
no
one does
monitoring
go.
anything.
I mean, that's still okay.
yeah,
That was a bit chewy.
yeah,
It was good. It was good to see.
Yeah,
I
that-
think the one in person, I think is.
It's always better in person.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's, yeah, that kind of topic is always
Unfortunately, having
hard.
taken off the last 2 days, I know my boss is gonna lose his crap if I tell him I can't show up.
That is okay.
Do it. Call in sick.
Bye-bye.
Okay, and that brings us to our very last item, number 7 on the agenda. And that's a motion to adjourn. Maureen, would you like to?
I would like to make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Thank you. It's been moved. Is there a second? It's been moved and seconded that we adjourn. Is there any, well, we don't have any debate. Those in favor say aye. Those opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.